Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so glad you are here today, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to shift the way you think about money, prayer, and your future. Let me start by asking you a simple question. Have you ever prayed for money and felt like nothing changed? Be honest. How many of you have prayed, "God, I need a financial breakthrough"? But the next morning, the bills were still there, the debt was still there, and the pressure didn't move. Show me your hands. Yes, I see many of you nodding. Now, here's another question. What if I told you that money does not respond to need? That may sound shocking, right? Because we've been taught that if you need something desperately enough, it should come to you. But let me stir your thinking. There are millions of people in need every single day, yet they remain broke. So why is it that some people attract resources while others struggle all their lives? Stay with me, because today I will reveal something that many have never understood. The reason prayer can unlock money in your life, but only when certain keys are in place. Imagine this. What if after listening to this message, doors you have been knocking on for years suddenly open? What if one prayer could position you for financial overflow, not because of magic, but because you finally understand the laws that govern money in the kingdom? I want you to lean in, take notes, and keep your heart open. Because the answers you've been seeking are hidden inside this message, and by the time we are done, you'll see why you may receive a lot of money after listening to this prayer. Money does not respond to emotion. It does not respond to begging. It does not even respond to need. If money responded to need, then every poor person in the world would be wealthy, because their need is the greatest. But reality shows us something different. Money follows purpose. Let's think about this. A hospital doesn't exist just because someone is sick. A hospital exists because someone saw a purpose in solving health problems. The moment that purpose became clear, money started flowing. Investors gave millions, governments built facilities, doctors gave their lives to training, and suddenly the resources came together. Why? Because money finds purpose. This is why when you pray for money, your prayer must be anchored in purpose. God will not release resources into your hands if you have no plan for them. Imagine pouring water into a basket. It doesn't matter how much you pour, it will keep leaking. That's what happens when people pray for money without purpose. The moment they receive, it slips through their hands. Joseph in Egypt is one of the greatest examples. Pharaoh had money, power, and soldiers, but when famine came, he was helpless. Joseph had purpose. God gave him a vision: store grain for 7 years, and nations will survive the famine. Pharaoh immediately transferred wealth, authority, and resources to Joseph because money is attracted to the man with a plan. That's why I always tell people, don't just pray for money, pray for clarity. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of the money you are asking for? Is it to educate your children, build a business, fund an idea that solves a problem, or to simply impress people? Because money resists waste, but it obeys purpose. A young entrepreneur once told me, I prayed for years for God to give me money to start a company. Nothing happened. But when I stopped praying for money and started praying for a vision, suddenly doors opened. Investors showed up. Clients trusted him. Why? Because when you discover purpose, provision follows. So your prayer today must sound different. Don't just say, Lord, I need money. Say, Lord, show me the assignment that requires resources. Give me wisdom to handle the purpose for which wealth will come. Because when you get purpose, money has no choice but to obey. One of the greatest battles in life is not in your bank account, but in your mind. Poverty is not first a lack of money, it is a lack of belief. You can give a poor-minded person $1 million today, and within months they will be broke again. Why? Because the mind cannot sustain what it does not believe it deserves. Prayer is one of the most powerful tools to change the way you think about money. Many people have been conditioned to believe that wealth is evil, or that money is only for others. Some grew up hearing phrases like, "We can't afford that," or "money doesn't grow on trees." These words shaped a mindset of lack. So even when money comes, their inner belief rejects it, but prayer reprograms your spirit and renews your thinking. When you pray, you're not just talking to God, you're aligning your mind with His Word. The Bible says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind," and one of the ways that renewal happens is through prayer. When you declare in prayer, "I am the head and not the tail. I am a lender, not a borrower. Wealth and riches are in my house." You are not lying to yourself. You are reprogramming your belief system to agree with heaven's reality. Slowly, your behavior begins to change. You start making wiser financial decisions. You stop seeing yourself as a beggar and begin to see yourself as a steward of kingdom wealth. Psychologists even back this truth. Research shows that people with positive financial beliefs save more, invest better, and take bolder steps than those who live in constant fear of lack. Prayer does what self-help cannot. It not only shifts your words, it shifts your identity. Let me give you an example. There was a woman who grew up in poverty and carried deep shame about money. Every time she received income, she spent it recklessly because deep down she didn't believe she was worthy of wealth. But when she began praying declarations daily, something changed. She stopped saying, "I'm always broke." Instead, she prayed, "God, I thank you that you give me the power to create wealth." Over time, she developed confidence in handling money, started saving, and eventually bought her first property. You see, money doesn't just change because you wish for it. Money changes when you change. And the first place change begins is in your mindset, shaped and renewed through prayer. Honor is a spiritual law that governs financial flow. Money is not just numbers in a bank account. It is a reflection of trust, respect, and recognition. When you honor God, honor people, and honor principles, resources find their way to you. The Word says, "Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your increase. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will overflow with new wine." Overflow is the result of honor. Lack is often the result of dishonor. Think of it like this. When you go to a restaurant and treat the waiter with respect, he is eager to serve you better. When you dishonor him, he avoids you. In the same way, money avoids people who dishonor God, dishonor others, and dishonor themselves. There's a story of a businessman who could never hold on to money. He made sales, but every deal fell apart. One day, someone told him, "The way you treat your employees is the reason your money leaks." He prayed about it and realized he had been dishonoring people by underpaying them and speaking harshly. When he changed his attitude and began honoring his team, clients trusted him more, workers stayed loyal, and his income multiplied. Prayer for money must therefore include a prayer for the spirit of honor, because honor attracts favor and favor attracts wealth. A simple act of honoring your parents, blessing the poor, or faithfully giving to God opens doors no bank account can explain. When you dishonor, you repel money. But when you honor, you draw it near. This is why some people pray and fast, yet never see financial breakthrough, because their words dishonor their spouse, their actions dishonor their commitments, or their hearts dishonor God. Prayer only works when honor is in place. Your mouth is a manufacturing plant. Every time you speak, you are creating your future. The Bible declares, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Your current financial state is often the fruit of yesterday's words. Many people cancel their own prayers by the way they speak. They pray, "Lord, bless me," but then spend the rest of the week saying, "I'm broke, I can't afford it, nothing ever works out for me." Those words are seeds, and seeds produce harvests. If you keep speaking lack, you will harvest lack. Prayer is not just about talking to God. It is about training your tongue. When you declare, "Wealth finds me, I am a steward of abundance, money comes to me for kingdom purpose," you are aligning yourself with heaven's economy. Even psychologists confirm this. Repeated positive declarations reshape your subconscious, which then influences your behavior. Think about Jesus feeding the 5,000. He didn't complain about the lack of food. He spoke words of blessing over what was in his hands. His words released multiplication. In the same way, when you bless the money in your pocket, no matter how little, you set it on a path of increase. A man once told me he began every morning speaking over his wallet, "You are full, you multiply, you attract more." At first it felt strange, but over time he noticed a shift. Clients began to call him, unexpected opportunities came, and his financial life turned around. What happened? His words set his environment in motion. Never underestimate the power of your tongue. Prayer works because it gives your mouth the right script. If you want wealth, stop rehearsing poverty. Stop saying, "I'm just trying to survive." Start saying, "I am designed to thrive." Speak it, pray it, declare it, until your reality catches up with your words. That's the expanded point 3 and point 4 into about 500 words, rich with teaching, stories, and practical application. Money rarely falls directly from the sky. It flows through people, through networks, through relationships. Prayer opens doors to these divine connections. Consider Ruth. She was a foreign widow with nothing. No money, no position, no inheritance. But through divine connection with Boaz, her financial status and future completely transformed. That connection wasn't coincidence, it was divine arrangement. When you pray for provision, you're not just asking for money. You're asking God to align you with people who carry your blessing. One person can change your financial story. A mentor can open opportunities you never imagined. A single recommendation can land you a job or contract that shifts your family's destiny. I know of a man who prayed for breakthrough in his struggling business. Instead of money, God sent him a new friend who had knowledge in marketing. That friendship became the turning point. Within 2 years, his business tripled in revenue. What looked like just a connection was actually an answer to prayer. But here's the key. Divine connections don't just happen. You must recognize and honor them. Many people pray for financial increase, yet reject the very people God sends into their lives. Sometimes the connection comes as a teacher, a pastor, or even a stranger with wisdom. Prayer doesn't just bring money. It brings relationships that carry the resources, knowledge, and access you need. So when you pray for financial increase, say, "Lord, align me with the right people. Open my eyes to see destiny helpers. Remove relationships that drain me and connect me to those who will accelerate my purpose." When you value these connections, money follows. Prayer without obedience is incomplete. Sometimes God answers your prayer for money not by placing cash in your hands, but by giving you an instruction. Your ability to follow that instruction determines the size of your breakthrough. Peter is a perfect example. He fished all night and caught nothing. Jesus told him, "Cast your net on the other side." That instruction didn't make sense. He was an expert fisherman, yet he obeyed. The result was an overflow so great that his nets began to break. Obedience turned failure into abundance. Too often, people pray for money but ignore the steps God tells them to take. He may tell you to start a business with the little you have, but you hesitate. He may nudge you to sow into someone's life, but you hold back. He may prompt you to learn a new skill, but you procrastinate. Then you wonder why breakthrough hasn't come. A woman once shared how she prayed for debt cancellation. While praying, she felt an impression to call her bank. At first, she resisted. It seemed pointless, but when she obeyed, the bank offered her a repayment program that cut her interest in half. That single act of obedience saved her thousands. Obedience is the bridge between prayer and manifestation. Prayer positions you, but obedience activates the blessing. When you pray for money, be ready to hear and act. God may not drop cash from the sky, but He will give you instructions, ideas, and opportunities. How you respond determines whether you walk in lack or overflow. That's the expanded point 5 and point 6 into about 500 words, packed with stories, examples, and clear teaching. One of the most overlooked keys to financial increase is gratitude. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a force that multiplies whatever you have. Jesus demonstrated this when He fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. He didn't complain about how little it was. He lifted it, gave thanks, and the act of gratitude triggered multiplication. Many people pray for more money while despising what they already have. They say things like, "This salary is nothing," or "This little income doesn't matter." What they don't realize is that they are cursing their seed. If you curse your seed, it cannot multiply. Gratitude blesses the seed and opens the door for increase. There was a man who constantly complained about his small job. Every month he would say, "This paycheck is useless." Years passed, and nothing improved. One day, he decided to change his approach. Instead of complaining, he began thanking God for every paycheck, no matter how small. He tithed faithfully, saved a portion, and prayed with thanksgiving. Within a year, he was promoted twice and received a job offer that doubled his income. The only thing that shifted was his attitude of gratitude. Even research confirms this principle. Psychologists have found that people who practice gratitude are more likely to manage money better, save consistently, and recognize opportunities others overlook. Gratitude doesn't just change your heart, it changes your habits, which then changes your financial reality. So when you pray, don't just ask for increase. Thank God for what you already have. Thank Him for the ability to work, for the little money in your hands, for the provision that has sustained you so far. Gratitude multiplies money because it shifts your perspective from lack to abundance, and abundance attracts more. True wealth is not measured by how much you own, but by how much you are aligned with God's kingdom purpose. Prayer is the bridge that connects your financial life to heaven's agenda. The Word says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Notice the order: seek the kingdom first, then provision follows. Many people reverse this. They chase money first and then ask God to bless it. But kingdom alignment works the other way. When you align with God's purpose through prayer, money begins to chase you instead of you chasing it. A man once told his story of struggling for years in business. He prayed for money, but found himself always in debt. Then one day, during prayer, he felt God impress on him to shift his focus, to stop building for himself and start building with a kingdom purpose. He began setting aside a portion of his profits to fund community projects and to support missions. Strangely, as he did this, clients began pouring in, and his business expanded rapidly. The money came once his heart was aligned with God's agenda. Prayer positions you to handle money as a steward, not an owner. When you see yourself as a steward, God can trust you with more because He knows you won't waste it. Kingdom wealth is not selfish. It is designed for impact, influence, and legacy. And the more God can trust you with purpose-driven wealth, the more He will release into your hands. So when you pray, don't just ask for money to cover bills. Ask God to align your financial life with His kingdom. Ask Him to trust you as a channel of blessing. When your motives are pure and your priorities are kingdom-centered, money will find its way to you.